All right. So announcements, a couple of announcements before we begin. I did want to say something about Netlify. I forgot to mention, whenever you do publish on Netlify, the good thing is whenever you push a new commit to GitHub, Netlify notices that and automatically updates your web page. So I'm going to demonstrate that right now, just as a review on how to do GitHub and as a review just to show you that feature. So I'm going to open up Visual Studio Code. I'm just going to open up a new folder somewhere in my desktop. I'll call it Hello World. So this is just going to be a review of GitHub right now. I'm going to make an index.html file. I'm going to say hello world on it. There it is. Now I'm going to use Git to so first thing I need to use, I'm going to go to github.com. I'm going to go to repositories. I'm going to click the plus sign, new repository. I'm just going to call it hello world. Create repository. Great. So I'm now going to type this git init. I'm then going to type in git add dot, and then I'm going to copy and paste these three. So git init, that initializes a Git repository in a hidden directory. I'm going to say git add everything in my current directory. The dot represents the current directory. And then I'm just going to copy all the last 3 lines and paste it here. Right. Do it again. C. Right click and then enter for that last one. There. That's done. So now if I refresh this web page, I should see my hello world HTML file. By the way, do not zip your files and then upload to GitHub. Otherwise, Netlify won't know how to find index.html. So keep your files unzipped when you're uploading to GitHub. Okay, so now I'm going to go to Netlify and tell Netlify, okay, look, keep on watching my hello world. I'll go to my Netlify, log in, new site from Git. Notice it's called continuous deployment. It's called that because it will continuously deploy every time you make a change. So now I'm going to search for my hello world. There it is. So I chose that. I'm going to say deploy site. And pretty soon it's going to give me a URL. By the way, when you submitted all your URLs, okay, so here's my URL. And I see the page. For a lot of you that submitted your Netlify URLs and I copied and pasted the URL and I didn't see anything, perhaps the reason I didn't see anything is because you forgot to put the file name. Like in this case, by default, it's index.html, so it works. Usually most web servers will look for index.html, but if it's not index.html, it's not going to guess for you. You have to say, lab3.html or put the path so that I can see the web page. Okay. All right. So now that it's hosted on a website, watch this. I'm going to now make a change. I'm going to put in h2 by world, save. I'm now going to add it. Instead of doing my usual command line of adding and then committing and then pushing, I'm going to now do that through the GUI tools in Visual Studio Code. So one way to do that, notice for example, the M means it's modified. So I believe there is a way to add that. Let me see. I was expecting a plus sign. Oh yeah, that's right. I have to click on this icon here, source control. You can tell I never use the icons. Okay, source control icon. Now I see the plus sign, which means I can add it. So by clicking the plus sign, I'm saying git add index.html. That's what that means. So it's preparing it to be committed. So I clicked on the plus sign. There, it's done. The next thing I usually say is, if I were doing it through command line, it would be git commit -m and some kind of message right here. But through the GUI tools, all you have to do is put the message right here, whatever it is, and then click this check mark, which is the commit. So then I click that. So now it does my git commit. And all I have to do now is the push. So instead of saying git push here, I believe there's a place here under the 3 dots here for push. Push. So now, once this progress is done, I'm going to check the GitHub page just to make sure. Okay, I think it's done. I don't see that progress bar. I'm going to check my GitHub page. Right now it says 3 minutes, but if I refresh it, it should say a few seconds. Yeah, 33 seconds ago. Now if I go to my Netlify and maybe refresh, right now it did one deploy, but I bet you if I refresh, it's going to show another deploy. There. It noticed GitHub has changed. And now if I go to the Netlify and refresh, there it is. This is just like Azure, except I like Netlify better. That's that. Yes. Oh, I wanted to mention this. In the library, there is free tutoring for any of your IMDW classes. Let me show you right here. Under tutoring, every Wednesdays at 11, where is it? 11 a.m.? Hold on. 11 a.m. tutoring. Where'd it go? Oh, so maybe. All I know is that every Wednesday at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the library in one of those square hub areas, specifically room K110G, is the IMDW tutor. So you'll have a second year student tutoring that, and it's supposed to be here. I'll have to double check that, why that's not there. Was it another day? Thursday. 11. No. Campus, Barry. Huh. I gotta put that in. All right, reminder to self. Hold on, give me a second. Reminder to self to put that in. All right. Okay, next announcement. When is assignment 1 due? I know some of you may have been kind of worried. It was due. So basically, last class I said, because I gave the extension to some students, I also gave the extension to all students. So technically speaking, everything could be due the day before, the midnight before the midterm exam. However, now the question is, in my mind, should I bother giving due dates, knowing that you know that? Or should I still give due dates to try to kind of mentally trick you into, getting imaginary pressure so you'll do it? I think as a procrastinator, I want the pressure. So I'm going to continue the due dates, even though it's imaginary. But it'll give you, it'll give you pressure because you know what's happening. Like each week, I'm going to give you 20 exercises for free code. I'm going to give you, labs. So the pressure is going to be on. Let's see here. Show assignment 2. So I revealed under assignments, assignment number 2, which is basically a you have some kind of image carousel kind of thing. So you click the image you want in the thumbnail area. So you have maybe 5 thumbnails of different pictures. You click the one you want, and then on the bigger area, that's what appears. Okay. I've given you some links to Scott introducing this assignment and explaining it. And actually, in one of Scott's lectures, he actually does an exercise very similar to this assignment right here. So you can watch that to learn how to do the assignment. It's a very simple assignment. I've even given a YouTube here of me explaining how to, and I think I mentioned this before in a previous class, how to change the picture just by assigning the image.source attribute to the image you want, and it magically does that. And for bonus marks, I've given this link here where you can try some of these CSS filters. Okay, so basically, it's you're given some HTML, CSS, JavaScript already, and you're given some thumbnail pictures, and you just have to add some click events to those thumbnails so that the larger picture shows up. Okay, so that's that. In the announcements, I said to install Node.js. So what I'm going to do now, so each week I'm going to provide you a different way of uploading your content. So this week, this is what I'd like you to do. So open up your terminal, could be your DOS prompt, for example. As long as you say node-v, some version number should pop up. Okay, it doesn't matter what. I'm going to do it in VS Code here. So if I say node-v, there it is. I want you to install, or first of all, check this. So this web page called npm. This is where a bunch of JavaScript libraries reside. You'll be using this a lot in your Node course later on. I'm going to try to find a package called now, produced by Zeit. There it is. So this is what I want you to install right now. So if you opened up your terminal, this is the command that you're going to type. npm I, which stands for install, -g, which stands for global, and then the package name is called now. Okay? So in your terminal, you're going to type npm I-g now. I've already done that, so I'm not going to do that. I want you to do that. But here's the cool thing. This provides a very simple way to upload your page. Check this out. So I'm now going to upload this index.html file just by typing 3 letters, pressing enter, and it gives you everything you need. Watch this. So I'm currently in the same directory as my HTML file. I'm now going to say now. Enter. It does its thing. It then gives me a URL that I can use right there. Here. Here's my URL. Or here. Either one. So if I click on this, copy that, and paste it here, I should see my web page. Done. Even faster than anything you've seen before. Okay. And by the way, this product now, produced by a company called Zeit, they make amazing products. This will work for your Node course too. If you had a Node, some code for your Node course, you could do the same thing, and it'll produce your web page. All right, so I got three debuggers to show you based on lab 3. Any questions before we move on? Actually. Okay. So let's take the first one. Let's take this one here. Let's unzip that one. So Neem, this is yours. Here we go. So first thing I always like is to get the console open to see if there's any errors. Let's click on Generate Random Story. Okay, great. It looks good. Now, what Neem was saying is, whenever I type in something here, it doesn't show up here. It's still Bob. So we're going to investigate that. You're all doctors of JavaScript. I want you to try to debug this. So first thing I'm going to do, good thing it's on a separate file. JS silly story.js. So I'm going to open up the JavaScript, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say debugger at the top of the line. Okay. So theoretically, there it is. Okay, it stopped at debugger. There we go. Let's go through each line. Let's see if I can magnify this more. Is that a good size, or one more maybe? All right, so what do you expect this to do? This, I expect it to grab the input box if everything here is correct. And at the end of the day, I should see a variable called custom name here in the scope area, and it should have the input box. Let's see. So step over there. So it ran that line. I'm going to see custom name here. Wow, null. Neem, where's Neem? So Neem, it's null. That means this line didn't evaluate properly. So something's wrong with this line. So either spelling, document is spelled correctly, query selector looks spelled correctly with a capital S, that looks good. So that means that the only possibility is this custom name. Somehow this one's wrong. Probably maybe it's the capital N. We'll see. So let's now go back to our code, look at the HTML file, look for the custom name. Here it is. You wanted this input of custom name, but notice Neem, lowercase n. Got it? All right. So now let's fix that. How do you want to fix that? Let's fix that by taking away the capital N, put the smaller n. Save. Let's do it again. Run. All right. Let's do it again. Here we go. So now if I click on this step over button, click, now I should see the proper input box. Great. So now this is working. Let's keep on going. Randomize. Let's see if it gets the randomize. Yep. Button. It got it. Story. Yep. It got the P. Whoops. It got the P. This one here, it's assigning a string to story text. So I assume that as soon as I click on this, I should see story text, and it has that whole entire string. Great. The next 3 lines are assigning an array to each of these 3. So 1, 2. Before I click on the next one, let's see what's happening. So it has insert X with an array of that, insert Y of an array of that, insert Z. So I'm going to click on that. There we go. So it has insert X, insert Y, insert Z. Okay. Notice here how when I clicked on the button to go to the next line, it kind of jumped from this here all the way down. It skipped pretty much this function, kind of skipped that function, and everything inside that function, and it went right here, randomize that event listener. So why is that? Because I told you before, when it sees functions like this, it's just like saying, you know, var a equals apple. So what's really happening is, just like var a, the variable a is attached to the window, and the value of apple is the value of that variable. Same thing here. Random value from array is attached to the window, and the right side of that is this whole code, starting from the brackets onward kind of thing. Same thing for this one. So that means somewhere in my global, I should see random value from array and result. Let's see. Here's my global, which is global means window. So somewhere here, whoops, I clicked on the wrong one. I should see, what was I looking for? Result and random from value. So both R's. So somewhere here under global, I should see result. There it is, result, and the random one, there it is, random, right? So this just like objects. On the left-hand side, you got the name of the array, or the name of the function. Right-hand side, you got the actual code. Okay, functions are actually objects in JavaScript. Okay, so let's keep on going. I don't want to see that anymore. Can I close that? Global, can I close the global? There we go. All right, let's keep on going. There, it finished. So it ran the code. It's ready to go. If I click this, let's see what happens. Click. Okay, so yeah, you got that. Now if I put in, you know, something, I only put capital letters just so I could see it better, and then click. I don't see it. So something's happening. I want my debugger, except I think we're good with this code, with the global code. I want to put my debugger now inside the function here, result, which runs. Right? So let's now refresh. Great, it ran that code. Now if I click on this, it should stop because I put the debugger line there. So there it is. So let's keep on going. Let's see what happens. Step over. So we're assigning the string that is stored in there. We're assigning it to new story. So I expect to see a new story here that's currently undefined. Expect to, when I click the button there, new story is now populated with the value of that whole entire string. What does this do? This is a function call to this function up here. So when I'm going to click on this icon right here, the step into next function call, which gets me here. So now it's running this function. And notice what we passed. We passed in an array that had all these strings, right? Because that's what insert X was. Insert X was, where's insert X? There. Insert X was all of this all these strings in the array. That's what we passed. And now we're this whole entire line is basically going to randomly pick one element in that array. So it's going to return either Donald Trump or Jackie Chan or the other one. So let's see what happens. There, it returned Jackie Chan and it stored Jackie Chan inside X item. So same thing for insert Y. Got Aruba from that array, inserted in Y item. It got that one randomly from that array, inserted in Z item. Okay. Okay, now it's going to assign this regular expression and put it in here. So right now this replace X is currently undefined, but as soon as I run, now replace X is that regular expression. Now we're going to replace all of our stuff. So all of the insert X should be replaced by X item, so on and so forth. Let's see, run. So it did the first one. Did it actually change to Jackie Chan? Well, here it is. Here's the new story, right? Because it said replace my current new story with this whole regular expression replace thing. So that means the value of this new story should have changed to Jackie Chan somewhere. Oops, can I? There it is, Jackie Chan. Right. Same thing for the Y, same thing for the Z. So now the new story should have all three. Okay. Now here, let's see if this works here. Actually, I'm not even testing this. Oh, right, hold on. Your code Neem is right here. That's what we were testing for. Okay, so Neem told me in his comments in Blackboard saying his custom name didn't work, so he just commented it out. But this is what I wanted to test. So right now I'm going to uncomment this and see what happens. So let's now uncomment that part here. And let's move I'm going to move the debugger because I'm satisfied with everything up top. I'm going to move the debugger right around. Okay. So let's refresh it again. Refresh. Great. Let's put in a name. Hello. Generate random story. It stops right at the debugger. Great. So now let's see what's going to happen. What do you anticipate will happen with this line right here, Neem? Well, we already know that this capital N is wrong, right? Right, Neem? So this capital N is wrong. So we need the small n. That's what we had before. How about this capital V, Neem? What do you think? You like that capital V? No. What should it be? Small v. Okay, let's think of that. Now, another thing I noticed, when you say equals, what did you really mean by equals? Did you mean assignment or did you mean compare? Look at this equals. Assignment? You wanted to assign an empty string inside custom name.value? Is that what you want? Or you want to? Yeah. So what so what you're trying to do is you're trying to say equals, something like that, or maybe in this case not equals. Like you're trying to ask, is the value in the text box, is that not equal to empty string? That's another way of saying is, did the user type something? Right? And then what's this line here? Custom name has a capital N, so we'll put a smaller case n. Capital V, we'll put a smaller case v. Now let's see if it works. So I saved all those changes, refresh. Let's see if I put hello here. Does that work? Let's just run it, see what happens here. Yeah, it did. There it is. Done. Okay. So that is patient number 1. On to the next patient. Oh, yeah, I gotta. Let's try this one right here. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is what I was saying before. Don't zip your files, because then when you upload it to GitHub, then Netlify won't know what to do with a zip file. So I unzipped it, and then you have another folder called start. Then you have all of this. So you know what? I'm just going to copy the essentials here. I'm just going to go back a folder, paste everything that we need right here, and delete everything else. So I don't need this anymore. And I don't need this anymore. Okay. All right, so let's open this up. Let's see what happens. I want this one. Open that up. There it is. Generate random story. Does nothing. What's my console say? Unexpected identifier silly story. It doesn't even recognize sillystory.js in. Oh no, sorry. In line 44, it doesn't recognize whatever's on line 44. Let's try it without using debugger for now. Line 44, what is it? Ah. So we got a wrong spelling here, right? So let's change that to const new story. Okay, I saved it. Let's try refreshing. Let's see if that does anything. Refresh. Oh, I got another one. Another error on line 74. Missing parentheses. So there's some kind of syntax error. 74. Okay, what's happening here? What can you spot it? Who can spot it? It's like, where's Waldo? Yeah. So what's happening here is the second parameter is supposed to be one string, but it sees the one string, but then it sees this strange thing here, thinking it's a variable name. I think you meant to be putting that inside the string, is my guess. Yeah, let's try that. Refresh. Okay, no more. Okay, so let's now click generate random story. Oh, assignment to a constant variable on line 60. So it's line 60. Here we're assigning something to new story, but is new story defined as a const up top? Yes, it is. So let's say let instead of const. So that should be gone. Next. Okay, good. It's kind of working. I see the paragraph trying to do something, but now I'm not sure what exactly is happening. And so I could use the debugger here. However, having debugged this previously, I noticed at the very end, you went through all this work to change new story, right? New story, like all of this new story is the new story, but do you actually use new story? No. So let's use new story. So story.text content equals new story. Let's try that. Maybe that'll work. Refresh. There we go. Done. All right, let's see. How about your other ones? Hello, metric. Let's see if that works. Yep, good. Awesome. Last one. This one's a doozy. This up. I click it. No, first of all, console log J. So, it can't. What's the browser saying? I'm trying to find a JavaScript file called silly story, but I just can't seem to find it. Same thing for the CSS file. So immediately, what are you thinking at this point? What's the error? The path. So I anticipate if I look at the HTML page, I anticipate somewhere here the path is off. So for the CSS, they said CSS/, and then for the JS, they said JS/, which means that this JS file should be in a folder called JS. Is it? When I look at the structure, I don't see any folders here whatsoever. It's just all flat. So what they should have done is just take away the path here. Just say find the file on the same directory kind of thing, right? So let's refresh. Good. Now it's saying, what is this? In HTML line 27, silly story JS is not found. So it still can't find it. What's happening here? Oh yeah, look. So the JavaScript file is not even called silly story, even though they reference silly story here. It's like tell the browser to find a file called silly story. Browser tries to find silly story, but I can't find it. So either label this here or opposite. Let's try the first option. Let's say let's match it. So Java underscore lab underscore 3. There, that matches that, and it's in the same directory. Let's see what we get now. Refresh. Okay, great, nothing. So let's see what happens if we click a button, nothing, 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 nothing. Okay, let's do the debugger. Let's go into our thing here. Okay, let's try this out. Refresh. Okay, it's paused. Okay, let's see if it grabs the input after I click on this. Custom name. Custom name. Uh-oh, custom name is null. So what can you see about this line here? That's already, yeah, there's an E there. So details, right? So custom. Now, does it have a capital N? Let me check the HTML. How do they label it? It is here. There's no capital N, so therefore don't use capital N. Right. Save that. Great. Let's try it again. Refresh. Refresh. Okay, let's see now. Custom name. Did we get it? We got it, right? We got the input box. Notice it's highlighting up top here if I hover here. Whoops. And now let's keep on going. Did we get the button? Yeah, we got the button. It's highlighting up top there. Next one, do we get the story? We got the story. There's the paragraph tag. Assigning the string, yep. Assigning the array, yep, yep, yep. So all the arrays are there. And then that's the end. That's the end of the code. Run. So wait a minute. If I click on this button, what line of code is responsible for the click? Add event listener, which is where? It's right here. But wait a minute. Wait a minute. Where exactly is that line of code? That line of code is here, which is encapsulated by this bracket, which means that it's inside this function. Yeah, exactly. This should be out of the function, right? Otherwise, it never runs. Now, if we do that, refresh, okay, debugger, keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. It does, now it reaches this, and so it can now assign a click event handler to that button. There, done. That's great. So now if I click a button, click, there, it works. Okay. Cool. So the whole point of why I do this each week is to show you how to debug properly. Because I don't want, my frustration as a teacher is when I get submissions that don't work. And I know it's kind of bad to say, but like, be resilient, try to figure it out. Because if I get code, like it tells me that you're giving up too easily. And this profession requires you to be a problem solver and to have resilience. So if it doesn't work right away, like figure it out. Okay? And I'm showing you the proper way to debug something, which I haven't done in any of my other classes before. But I figure for this class, Intro to JavaScript, I'm going to keep on harping it. Okay? All right, great. Oh, question. It doesn't show the new story. Let's check it out. Let's see what's happening. Oh, yeah. That's why I said it was a doozy. There's still more. There's still more. That's why. Okay, thank you. Let me open that up here. There's still more. So if I said hello and metric, it doesn't show hello, it doesn't show metric. What's happening? Let's do the debugger again here. Where's the what was that? Oh yeah, here. So here 35 you got a small e. So let's take that out. Okay. There's actually something more greater than that. What was that? What'd you say, Hum? What line number? 34? Yeah, look at this. Right? They're trying to do a dot value on a string, which doesn't make sense. I think they meant custom value or custom name. Again, is this a capital N? Did we define it as a capital N? I forget already. Oh yeah, we did up here. So it had a lowercase n to try to grab it, but once you grabbed it, we assigned it to a capital N. So I think this should be okay. Name, right? Let's see if that works. So let's see if the Bob is replaced. Let's see if Bob is replaced. Nope. Okay, so what's wrong now? What do you think? Was it line 35? Oh yeah, here's another one. So they have a string. They're trying to do a dot value on a string. That doesn't make sense either. Right? That's why I said this is a doozy. Okay, let's try that. Let's see if. Oh, yeah, thank you. Yep, good. So we could be using debugger on this, but I'm just going to try to eyeball this. Let's try, let's try hello. Hello, great. Now the next thing is, does the metric work? Now this is the real doozy. I'm going to click on metric, and nothing shows up. What's the matter with this if statement right here? And here I'm going to use debugger. Okay, this should boggle your mind, because when I first saw this, I didn't see the error at first. Here we go. I'm going to say metric, generate random story. Oh, where did my debugger go? I thought it would have stopped it right there. Let me try that again. Hold on. I have two debuggers, so it should. Oh yeah, I have to open the console. Thank you. There we go. Okay, so what do you think? Oh, I should have selected. Hold on, refresh for a second. Oh, now it's stuck at the top of the debugger. Let me get rid of that debugger. Okay, refresh. There, I'm going to select metric because I want to test the metric one. There, it stops here. Before I click on the button to see what happens, what do you think this should evaluate to? Yes, if I was using .query selector. But because this person is using .getElementID, which is an older one before query selector was invented, it's valid. You just don't use the hashtag in this case. So this will work. Let me actually go to the console for a second. Hold on. Let me copy this line and show you what it evaluates to. Okay, so I'm going to go to console. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to grab this by saying this. Watch. There. See, I grabbed it. It's pointing to the radio button. Now, if I say the same thing .check, it'll say either true or false. It's true because it's there, but if I check the other one and do it again, run it again, it's now false. Okay? So that means this should give me false if I didn't choose this. Okay? So let's try that again. So if it's false, which is this, which it currently is, do I anticipate to go inside the if block? Right? So the if block, which is basically what we're kind of learning today, I guess, is the if it's true, then it'll run this block of code. If it's false, it will skip all of this block of code. So because this is false, do you think this should run? Yes or no? No. However, let's see what happens. I'm going to click over. Click over. Ha! How did that makes absolutely no sense. This is supposed to be false, yet it behaved as if it was true and went inside here. That does not make sense whatsoever. What is wrong with this line of code? And it took me a while to figure it out. Detail-orientedness. Where's Waldo? Laptop sticker for anyone who could find it. Yeah, Justin. There's a semicolon at the end of that. You get a laptop sticker at the break. Right? So what happens is JavaScript thinks this is just a statement. It's that this statement is not even connected to the block here. So once it kind of tries to run this, then it sees the next line of code and sees, oh, it's a block. That's valid. You could just put any blocks anywhere you want to in your code. That's valid. And it goes in here. So the answer is take away the semicolon for that. So take away the semicolon, save that. That should work. Refresh. Get random story. Yada, yada, yada. There it is. So if I say metric, get random story, yada, yada, yada. I should, oh, I see kilograms here, so I guess that's kind of working. The Fahrenheit needed work, but, oh, the spelling of Fahrenheit. Yeah, got it. There you go. And that should work. So here's how it is by default. So there's Fahrenheit, there's pounds. If I say metric, run, there's Celsius, there's kilograms. Done. All right. So I'm hoping you'll use debugger a lot. Okay. So now we can, what time is it now? Oh, 11:45. Okay. Any questions before we move on to today's real lesson? Which is conditionals and loops. So if you want to open up this lesson file start.zip and download it somewhere, that'll be great. You can kind of work through it. Let's see here. Let me put it here under comp1073 week 4. It is. Let me unzip it here. And I don't need that. I don't need that. All right, so open up the conditionals.html. That's what it looks like. Let me open that in VS Code. So open folder. And there it is. Okay. So yeah, good reminder here, Yed. So if you ever want to use debugger in the future, you have to make sure your console log is open. Otherwise, the debugger won't show. Okay, so we're introducing conditionals. Conditionals are basically if and else. Even before we do this stuff, let me ask you, in any of your previous classes, did they teach you truth tables? Yes? So if I Google truth tables right now, this should look familiar. Yes, hopefully. Something like this. Okay. Let me see here. Let me see. I just need a simple truth table. Oh, here we go. Oh. Oh. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, I want that one. Have you ever seen this tape before? No? Oh, man. Okay. So in my code, let's say in my code, I said this, if something that evaluates to true and something that evaluates to false, do you think it'll run that block of code? No. Why? Because if something is true and something is false, so P and Q, it equals false. The whole thing is false. And that's why this whole block of code will not work. If I say true and true, does that work? Yes, because if something is true and something is true, so P and Q is true. So every other combination is for the and, it's false, right? So the only time it's true for the and is if both are true. What if it's the or? So instead of the and, it's the or. How does that work? Let's try to find it here. Or here we go. Yeah, good question. What's P and Q? So for example, remember here, this something has to evaluate to true. So what, if I said, if there was a variable here, like, I don't know, const equals sorry, const A equals 3, const B equals 4, and then I put some kind of like test A less than B. That'll evaluate to either true or false, right? This. So that's what I mean by P and Q, is that you have something here that evaluates to a Boolean, right? Does that make sense? All right, so, but I'm just, for now, I'm just trying to take that abstraction away and just say, true, true. So here, true or true, what does that evaluate if we're using or? So this is a symbol for or. If it's true and true, it's true. Therefore, does this block of code run? Yes. If one of these is false, does this block of code run? Yes, because false or true is true. Same thing for this one. If this is true and this is false, does that run? Yes. So it looks like the only time it never runs is if it's both false, for or. Okay? I did want to mention that for performance reasons, for the or anyway, since we know if ever at a time you see this, like if something is true on the left-hand side of the or, the computer will save time performance-wise and not even evaluate this because it already knows that you're using an or and one side is true, therefore the whole thing is true. I just wanted to mention that. What else did I want to mention? Yeah. Okay, so let's go through this conditionals webpage. Let's see what step 1 has to offer here. A simple if-else statement. What does Scott want us to do here? Any value that is not false, undefined. Oh, yeah. That's, yeah. Let me look at my notes, because I don't know what he's asking me to do. Oh, that's what he's doing. Okay. So he's just demonstrating a simple if-else statement, which I'm sure you've already encountered. So I'm going to say like something like this. If we homework done, let's represent that with, oh, this is a tricky one. Let homework done is a string of 0. And let break duration equals 0. And then here's the tricky part. You tell me, and this was on the Kahoot last time. So I'm going to ask for a prediction for a console log. So console log break duration. So before I run this, what do you think this console log will output? Will it output 0, 30, or 5? What do you think? 30. Who votes for 30? Who votes for 5? Who votes for something else? Okay, let's see what happens. Let's run it. Let's open up the console log first and then run it. Refresh. 30. What happened? How is this true? Remember from the Kahoot last time. Remember the rules for truthy and falsy in JavaScript. There's only several values that count as falsy. What are they? Who raised their hand before? Is it Parth? Parth, you raised your hand because you thought it was 5. Now, Parth, check this out. In JavaScript, only the following is false. So if you have the Boolean data type of false, if you have an integer of 0, or an empty string, and any of this, that's false. So if you have the string of 0, that's true. And that's why I said it's tricky, right? So this is the string of 0. Got it? Great. Maybe just to reinforce, let me reinforce something that I just taught with truth tables. I'm going to change this up on the fly. If I said and break duration right here, what do you think it's going to be now? 35 or 0? Or yeah. So votes for 30. Votes for 5. Okay, vote for something else. All right, here we go. 5, right? Because break duration is integer 0, which is counted as falsy. Therefore, truthy, right? This is true, and false. What's the true and false truth table? What does that evaluate to? True and false. What is that? False. Therefore, this block of code will not run. Only the else will run. Does that make sense? Okay. Great. So that was step 1. Let's comment that out. We're done with that. Step 2. The more complex if-else structure. What are we doing here? Step 2. We're going to grab all of these elements in the HTML. So we're going to grab, what are we grabbing here? All of these stuff here. Just copy what I'm doing here. We're grabbing a whole bunch of stuff. So const page equals, and we're going to query select a whole bunch of stuff here. And I want to grab the HTML, apparently. That will grab me the whole shebang, right? Because HTML is like right here. It's grabbing the whole thing. Okay, we'll see. Next thing we're going to do is select, const select equals document query selector, and we're going to grab hashtag weather. Let me split my editors so that we can constantly go back and forth. So I'm trying to get the weather. Where's the weather here? Oh, there it is. So it's my drop-down menu. That's what that is. Do it in the back. Stop talking. All right. Next, const icon equals query selector, and we're going to grab weather. Oops, sorry. Weather icon. What is that? Where is the weather icon in the HTML page? It is right here. So it's this image that's, I think, currently hidden. I guess it's hidden. I don't know. The next one is const temp equals document query selector temp. So what's temp? Oh, it's this label here. I guess we're going to change something. Oh, no, sorry. It's this input box here. So I guess we're going to change something in there or grab something from there eventually. Finally, const comment equals document queries commentary. And where is that located? Oh, it's right here. It's the paragraph tag. We're going to insert some text content in there, I assume. So next thing we're going to do is, this is what I want to do. This, what is this? This drop-down menu here, I want this to, as soon as the user chooses something, like rainy or sunny, then I want my JavaScript code to run. So we've already seen event listeners using click. Does anyone happen to know what the event listener is called for this kind of action? Select, change, yeah. So change, let's do that here. Select, which is the drop-down menu, we're going to add an event listener. And instead of click, it's called change. And what goes in the second parameter, we're going to run a function, which we have yet to define, called setWeather. And inside this function is where our if and else if is going to happen. I don't need this anymore. All right, so let's create our function. Function setWeather. I'm going to move my steps 3 and 4 into that function. So the first thing I want to do, and this is where I'm going to ask some people at random, I want to grab the drop-down selection value that was chosen. So how do you think, it's very similar to the input box. What do you think goes here? If I said console log and I just want to test if I can output what was chosen in the drop-down menu, and it's similar to the input box with the dot value. So what do you think, if I just want to test what was chosen, what do I put in here? And let's go with parse. What do you think? If I just want to test what was selected in the drop-down menu, and I have the drop-down menu here called select. So inside select is the whole drop-down menu. What was that? Yeah, it's very close. Select.value. Let's try that. Okay, I just want to see if select.value is the correct expression to evaluate what was chosen. So I'm going to refresh. I'm now going to choose, and by choosing, it should run my function, which has the console. So I anticipate my console should say sunny if I click on this. Let's see what happens. Sunny, indeed it does. If I choose rainy, yeah. Question. For click listeners, it doesn't have to be at the bottom of the script. All you're telling the browser to do whenever it counters this one line is make sure you add the click event or change event to that DOM element. But in reality, this line could be anywhere in your code. Most likely, by preference, I would prefer it at the bottom, because that's my style usually, to put at the bottom. But it doesn't have to be there. I think the only time it can't go up top is if you're trying to use the word select, but you haven't defined it yet. So if you tried to say this line if you're trying to say this select add event listener above where it was defined, I think you'd have a problem. So let's try that. So let's move that whole thing before it was defined. And because we're using const, it shouldn't have the hoisting thing. I think it'll error out. Yeah, you cannot access select before initialization. So we initialized select here. Therefore, this line has to come somewhere after that. It doesn't matter where. The browser knows it's going to add some kind of magical watcher on this, and then it'll work. Okay. I'll put it here in the bottom just to be consistent. Good. All right. So we've got that. Let's grab the temperature, which is here. So this is an input box with type of number, and so we've seen that before. So let's say, but I'm still going to ask you. So we're going to grab the temperature value. And, oops, sorry, I didn't even grab the other value. I just said console log. I really want that to be assigned to a variable. So const choice equals select that value. So that will assign the word rainy or the string rainy, for example, into the variable called choice. Same thing here. I want to assign the actual temperature, whatever number the user types in. So what do you think goes in here? Similar to, and it's going to look similar to this one here. Let's pick on preamp. What do you think goes in here? So I want this value, whatever the user has here, I want to grab that. And I already have that DOM element right here. So in a variable called temp. Yes, temp.value, great. I'm sure we could console log to test it, but we'll trust that it's working. So now here comes the if-else stuff. Let's try this. Oops. Should have toggles. So we're going to say if, actually, I'm not even going to say that. I'm going to describe with pseudocode English words, and I want you to tell me the syntax I type. Okay. So if let me ask on Rowena. Rowena, if the user selects sunny, then we'll do some code. So what is the first line here for that? So if the user selects sunny, then we'll do some block of code. What do I do here? If sunny? If sunny like this? Yeah, so tell me exactly what to type is what I'm saying. Select dot value. You're right. However, notice I said select dot value is this already. Yeah, so maybe a better way would be if choice equal to something, to sunny. Yeah, you're right. There we go. Good. Then we'll do some block of code. So what do we want to do? We want our image, which currently is the icon, which we grabbed up here, to actually have an image, which we already have some images that Scott gave us under the folder called images. So notice there's some SVG files, which are images. We're going to now use those images and put them in our image tag, which we defined earlier with icon. Okay. So next, So Young, I would like the image tag that we got through. So this image tag here, okay, which has the ID of weather icon, we already got it here. So we got it and we put it in a variable called icon. Okay, I would like to assign this sunny SVG inside that image source attribute. How would I do that? What's that? URL? Yeah, you're right. Where does the URL come from? Or where does the URL come from? It comes from images here. So you need some kind of path like images.sunny.svg. Yeah, you need that eventually. Yes. But where are you going to assign this? Where are you going to assign this URL? And the question, okay, let's back up. So Young, here's the image tag, right? Normally, which attribute would you put the URL in? Which attribute? Is it the alt? Is it the ID? Is it the yeah, source, right? Do I have access to this just by programmatically saying something here like icon something? Icon something equals that? What do you think? Yeah, source. All right. Let's see if this works. So obviously this will only work for sunny. Let's refresh. Let's choose sunny. Let's see if an image appears. Ta-da. Cool. Let's go. Let's just make the whole. Let me ask Huryad. In addition to having the sunny icon, I would like the background color to change to yellow to indicate it's sunny. How would I do that in this line of code, do you think? Like something dot style dot. You page? Okay, did we have a page? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, page, good. Page dot style dot background color equals yellow. Right? Let's see if that works. Let's see if that works. Let's see if we have a sunny page. There. Nice. And notice how it faded. I just noticed that. So it didn't come around like right away. It's like kind of faded in. Do you know how they did that in CSS? You'll learn that in your motion graphics animation course, but in the CSS, let's see here. Oh, yeah, there it is, transition. So this one statement here, transition. Okay, so this is supposed to be a more complex if-else lesson, so let's try this. So next on the block is Adam. Adam, if the user chooses rainy, then I want the image to be the rainy SVG. How do I do that? Yeah. Great. Okay. So let's see if that works. Let's also make the color gray, maybe. Gray, something like that. Okay, so let's see if that works. Refresh. Rainy. Woohoo. Nice. Great. Let me show you something different for the next one here. Actually, no, for this one here. So instead of saying icon.source, I could have also said this, icon.setAttribute. And this method is more generic in that you could specify any of the attributes of the HTML tag you're working with. You could specify source, and if it's source, then replace it with, your images.rainy.svg, right? Or so let's see if that works. So rainy, does it still work? Rainy? Oh, hold on. Invalid left-hand side assignment. What did I do? Oh yeah. We don't want that. So this should do the same thing. Let's just test that first. Rainy. There it is. So this is another way to do it, but this is more generic. This attribute is more generic in that you could put any name of attribute there. You could put ID. You could put, whatever. Alt tag. Okay. So the next one on the list, we got Keon. What do you think, Keon? If the user chooses windy, then I want the windy SVG in there. And we'll just copy the same thing, right? Yep. Okay. So we're getting the hang of it. Let me just finish the rest of it because you get the idea. So we want windy SVG there, and maybe the color will be beige, and I'll do the same thing for. Was there another option there for night or no? I forget. Oh, it's not in there. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Let's use the night. Okay, I'm going to insert something new in the HTML code. So in the HTML for the options, I'm going to just add a night here. Night. Just so that we can see the pretty icon. Okay, so now that I inserted a new option of night, I can now do a new code here. Or else choice is night, then use the night. And maybe make the color purple. Okay. Now, let me ask Margarita, what if all else fails, if the user doesn't choose any of them, I want the background color to be white, and I don't want the image to even appear. So what do I type here? Else. Yeah, so we want basically this to be white. Now, how do you think, what would be your way of making sure that there's no image? What would be your way of doing that? Because, what do you think? Null or empty string or whatever. That should work. Let's try that out. So if I choose night, there it is. If I choose please choose, it goes back to white. Great. All right, the next one is step 4 here. And this goes back to the truth tables. So let's say this. Let me ask Josie. Josie, if the user chose sunny, or if the temperature is greater than 15, then I want a statement which we currently grabbed through this comments here. So it's basically a paragraph tag. I want that paragraph tag to say it's so many degrees. So basically, it's 16 degrees. Kind of cool. Something like that. So the first thing is if the user chooses sunny, or if the temperature is greater than 15. So what's the line of code to test that condition here? Yeah, so I'm going for the truth table stuff now. Yeah, so I don't want to say true here because I don't know if it's true yet. But I want to grab that truthy value from here. So if the user chooses Sunny, that will evaluate to true. So how do I say that? And it's very similar to, I thought I had it here. Oh yeah, it's very similar to this. Or you know what? It's the exact same thing as that. Yes. So I'm going to copy this whole thing. Put it in here. Now how do I say the other part? So if the user chooses Sunny, or if the temperature is greater than 15. How do I say that here in this if condition? Well, how do I grab this number? This number is dependent on this on whether or not we grab this input box. Did we grab this input box? Yes. So let's look at the HTML. Here is the input box for the temperature. We grabbed it through here. We assigned it to a variable called temp, a constant called temp, which means we now have access to this number. How do we access that 16? Temp dot value, right? Well, so watch. Let me just show you for a second. I think I have temp here. Do I have temp? Yeah. So I have temp globally. So if I just say right now, temp dot value, that should evaluate to 16 because that's what's here. If I change that number to something else, like 19, and then run that again, temp dot value is now 19. Does that make sense? So now I want to test whether this temperature is greater than 15. Yeah, it is greater than 15, right? But what do I put in between these? No, this is the truth table stuff. Like this is your P. Yeah, or is the 2 bars like that. Okay. So if that happens, then let's insert text content to be, let's put backticks there because I'm going to use template literatures. It's 16 kind of degrees. I'll just say that, okay? We'll see what happens. So if either, let's run this, if either Sunny is chosen or the temperature is greater than 15, then it'll say it's so-and-so degrees, it's hot. Let's see what happens. Refresh. So if I choose this, let's see what happens. Sunny, look at that. It's 15 degrees, it's hot. Let's refresh again. Because I use the or, if I say this, 16, oh, hold on. There's no way to submit that. Is there? So I changed it, but there's no listener. There's no listener on that. Just because it's changed, there's nothing, like, so what? It changed. There's no JavaScript to take care of that. Now, in my notes here, I didn't actually bother to do that. So I think I have to choose something here. So if I say rainy, does it still work? Still works. Still says it's hot because this is 16. But let's try again, refresh. Let's say 10, which is false. It'll evaluate to false. And I choose rainy again. I don't expect the it's hot message to appear. It doesn't. Does that make sense? Cool. So you could do that. as much as you like. Step 5, switch statements. What is this? Let me show you, show of hands who've seen switch statements before. All right, you already know. In JavaScript, it looks like this, right? So switch statements are basically like a bunch of if, else ifs. So this is like your if, this is like your else if, this is like your else if, and this is like your else. It just looks different. The syntax is different. The thing to keep in mind is always include this break there for each one. Break there, kind of thing. Okay. I'm going to quickly type in the switch statement here. Actually, maybe what's 12:20? Okay, let's take a break before I do this. Let's take a 20-minute break because this is a little bit longer. So let's take a 20-minute break. I will show the code again, yeah.
I'm trying to log into now. What's the email?
Oh, just type in your regular email address. It could be anything. Give me your Gmail. Yeah. So the very first time you run now, it'll ask you for your email address.
So that's like a sign in?
Yeah.
Or like
yeah.
a create account, right?
Yeah. Create account, and then it never asks you that ever again.
All right.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what to put in.
Hey, Justin.
I think I just missed something quickly.
Yeah. You know, I'll go over your work, your lab 3, because there's a lot of stuff in there.
No, but this is for this stuff.
Oh, I see.
Everything's working until I got to this part, and then something's wrong. It says I'm missing something. Everything is there.
What's the error message? Anything there?
End of line, and that's all the way at the bottom,
Just something on your HTML page, 111.
right there.
It's probably expecting a bracket or something.
I got that there, so that works. And then those brackets are in there. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
That might be it.
no. I think there's an extra character or a character that you have to type in. Maybe it's somewhere up top because it doesn't look like it's here.
Oh, that's the same. That all worked.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Is this is inside the entire function, right?
Yeah.
Function. So where's the ending bracket of that one then? Maybe that's what it is. Yeah. Ah, you see, you probably stole that one. So if you add another bracket, yeah, that's what you did. You stole the bracket. Yeah, that should work.
Okay, there we go. And when I was working on the lab, it just kept coming up with this. It doesn't like something that you typed, so I'm a little confused.
When I debugged your stuff, there's a lot of issues there. Did you? I could tell you didn't watch my video that I posted, did you? On how to do this.
I don't think I did for that one.
Make sure you watch that and submit it again.
Okay.
Okay. What's your name again?
Divanshu.
Divanshu.
Yeah, I condition like choice, like find.
Okay, so line. So,
I think I didn't.
so it doesn't like this. Where's this defined up top? Oh, I know what happened.
I just
This
close
ending
the
bracket,
function.
You close the function.
Yeah, that's the.
That's the issue. You should also install Prettier, the extension, so that your code looks nice. Defined.
That's cool.
Scroll up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have prolonged it as SRC.
Did you did you use capital A for that one? For set attribute?
Set attribute? Maybe.
Yeah.
And I tried to install video over here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. No, you still have to. editor dot format on save is true. Save that. There, that should work. So now, in your conditionals, if you save this, there, see? Nice.
Okay. One more thing.
Yeah.
Like in the lab one. So here you have slashing.
Yeah, so just submit zip file.
So we have to just submit the file.
Just submit a zip file. I'm not asking you to host that one.
Okay. And what about the
Everything
lab?
else you have to host.
And how we have to host the
Just watch my videos.
Oh, I'm pretty confused about the NetFly.
That's why. So watch the video today,
Okay.
right? Because I did it in the beginning of class.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
So I have one thing that I'm not clear about the variable. So this is so this is the variable that we need to we choose the temp inside the HTML, right? This is the temp.
Yeah.
So this variable is like we grab from
We just create this out of thin air,
yeah.
and then assign
Assign it
16 to there.
Okay. So I'm not sure why do they use the temperature here, but okay. Yeah, it's like it's the same.
Same thing. Yeah,
It's the
you're
same
right. You're right.
thing, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah,
So-
we could have done. We could have done that.
We can change it. Like the
Did we?
temperature.
Hold on. Hold on. Where's temperature defined? Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
Okay, so
You could do either.
Okay. Okay, I got it. Yeah, that's what I think. It's like
Yeah.
oh, we got it.
Yeah.
Why we
Yep.
need to use that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we could have just said temperature here. Yes, either one. I just forgot it. Oh, we had it. Okay.
Just like that.
Yeah, good. Good. What's your name again? What's your name again?
Coming.
Yeah.
This source is
Okay. Go to line 52. So it doesn't like the icon. So to the whatever's to the left of the dot. So it's saying it can't do dot source on null or whatever it was. So that means this icon somehow is defined on top of that. So I can already tell it's trying to find an HTML tag with, but I think you wanted a hashtag there, but you don't have hashtag, right? Because the hashtag means ID in the HTML, right? See, without that hashtag, it's not going to know to look at the ID. Yeah.
Sometimes you goes a little bit faster when I try to connect or continue with you, but sometimes it's
Well, that's why I record my videos, right? So you can just watch my videos, pause.
But you post these videos in the text or because in
So all my videos, I've posted it already, right? In Blackboard, it's under announcements here. So every time I I send a reminder. So I send a reminder after each class usually, and it says lecture is now posted here. So every class I always post my lecture on YouTube. You just have to make sure you check Blackboard every often. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
When I try it works. But it shows the problem.
What's the problem?
Sunny is not defined.
Sunny is not defined. No, because it's not a string. It's thinking this is a variable name,
Oh,
but you want to compare it to a string,
okay.
right? You want
So
because the what's inside choice is a string, and you're saying is the string Sunny equal to the variable Sunny, but there's no variable called Sunny,
oh,
right?
okay.
Like, yeah, you want to compare a string to a string
Okay.
instead of
So
your
just put
yeah,
it-
just put it in quotes, yeah. Yeah.
Replacing the value of insert x. It's like that x. And replace this with an x. It's not changing.
Oh, you forgot step 9. Step 9 is where you say const insert x equals the array of all the different strings. Oh, there it is. Okay, never mind. So is it doing anything right?
I just got this like.
Okay.
So I have x value.
Click on metric, see what it does. Is that metric?
No, I didn't know.
Nothing? Oh, I see. You're wondering about this.
Yeah.
Like, why isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, go back. Oh, because you said capital X there.
Oh, there is small x in the story.
Is there, well, you tell me. It's a small X right there.
That's
Yeah. What's your name? Okay, so whenever it says of null, that means look for the dot. Look for the dot source, and whatever's to the left of the dot, it doesn't like it. So go to line 75. So here's the dot source, like to the left of the dot. So I kind of means it doesn't like that. So somewhere up top where that's defined, it's bad. Go back, stop. Okay, so now where's all the everything looks spelled correctly? That means probably this one is something wrong with it. You can't find an HTML tag with this. So you wanted a hashtag in there. So it identified the ID, right? Because look up top. Look up top. Where's your where was it? I think it's this one here. What icon? So it's ID. So that means you have to use the hashtag. Hashtag means ID. Okay, so let's see what happens. Did it do anything? It's X. Okay, you're welcome. Item. Story. Okay, so this is where I want you to use debugger. So in here, type debugger.
run it, and then go line by line and try to anticipate what the variables should be, and if they are that. Okay.
This one, the one on
Is it yours? What do you mean?
the debug here. What's the difference between doing it there and on Chrome? Wouldn't it be the same thing?
Oh, this one, VS Code does have the ability to be like Chrome, but we haven't activated. I haven't really had to activate that yet. So
Oh, it's
just
not
use the
ready?
Chrome. So this
So
is
if
this.
I put debug in here, it wouldn't work the same on this one?
No, because we haven't set it VS Code to be that.
Oh,
Because
okay.
you're just working with an editor, but the real code is working on the browser, and that's where the debugger is. But there is a way to connect the Chrome debugger to VS Code debugger, so whatever you see in there
Okay.
could be seen in here. I haven't shown that, but you could YouTube
Are
it.
we going to or no?
Usually that stuff is reserved for the Node class. I mean, I could do it, but I think the Chrome, it could be confusing. So I'd rather leave
Okay.
it. Yeah, I'd rather you just use the Chrome one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
Because I saw lab 4, we have to submit with that now.
Yeah.
I'm running it through my terminal, and I don't really know how I'm supposed to like upload that way.
Oh, what did you? Are you in Node?
Yeah.
Oh no, get out of Node. So Control C.
Control C.
Yeah, Control C to break out of these things again. Control C. One more time. There, you're out of it.
Okay.
So within here, within this shell, now you can type in
okay, now
npm, because I think when you said this line, you were in Node,
Oh,
but
okay,
you have to
okay.
be outside of
Okay, so I
Node.
go npm
PM.
I
Yeah,
dash g
yeah,
now.
yeah. So the very first time it's going to ask for your email, but every single time after that, you don't have to type your email after that. So now it's installing.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh, is this because of permissions? Do you have to like? Permissions.
What?
For Mac users, do you ever use sudo? The command sudo, sudo.
No, I don't know. I never used that.
Okay, hold on, let's try it. say sudo, and then the command npmi.
Sorry, here, I'll put it down. npm
I for install.
I-G. Now.
Yeah, it's there.
Now I make a password?
No, it's asking you what is your password.
Oh, for my computer.
Yeah. There. I think it should be okay now. There. So it did it without any errors.
Okay.
So now, if you just say, if you navigate to like any web page, like any HTML file, and say now, it'll work.
Okay, so in here in iTerm, I can just type in the path for the HTML file that I'm
Yeah, like
using?
can you navigate to?
Like, why don't we just use the one for this that we're working on
Sure.
right now?
Yeah, yeah.
conditional
So
summation
is there a way
file?
to quickly get your terminal to open in this directory?
I have no
Try
idea.
Can
I
you
only
right click? Can you right click that and then say open with, or no, I guess not. Oops.
I can try here.
No.
No, it doesn't come up.
Well,
Oh, here.
well,
My
okay.
turn.
Let's see. Let's see.
Should I open it?
Try it. Oh no. Well, okay. Yeah.
Maybe I can take this path out of here?
No, just cancel.
Okay.
I don't think. Just to do it the long way. So, are you familiar with the Linux commands like ls and all
No,
that?
I'm not familiar with any of this.
Okay. Okay, then what's
Like literally,
what's,
I downloaded this like 2 weeks ago.
yeah. There must be a way to just open. How do you right? Yeah, I don't know, Max. But how do you right click? Like, okay, how'd you do that? In Mac?
Just 2 fingers.
Got it. Okay. And then is there like not open with, but something about terminal.
Properties? Get info?
Terminal. Open this place. Oh yeah, new iTerm to tab. Yeah, terminal.
Tab?
Either one. Either one.
Oh,
Yeah,
there.
you're there.
Okay, so I just press
Now.
now?
Yeah. Okay, so enter your email for the first time. It'll never ask you again. It'll be any email.
You'll never ask me again.
It'll never ask you your email again.
Oh, please sign up.
Oh, I guess it's not.
I have to sign up website.
Oh, I guess it's not. That's the I didn't know that. I thought it was yeah, but then it will work. It should work.
I hope I remember how to do that again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect. So what did the debugger review?
I tried, but like, I couldn't get any.
Now hold on. All you said here was console log be this, but you never actually changed this. Because this line doesn't change when you store it. You have to say, you have to assign.
Yeah, and I just put
Oh,
it in
okay,
for,
okay.
like for checking.
Oh, just for checking purposes? Okay, but, so when you console it, does it replace it?
No, that's
Okay.
what I'm saying.
Oh, you can sign in.
Insert text. Oh, got it. Okay.
So maybe something wrong in this pattern.
Oh, yeah. You don't want this. You don't want this. You want the regex. You want const some variable equals regex gi. And then in here, you're looking for insert x. And then here,
But, oh, I thought it shows me red, so I think I somewhere that's why I put it into.
oh, okay, yeah, no, that's what you
Okay.
try that. Okay.
I got red color, so
Okay.
that's why I thought
Yeah.
it's something wrong.
Okay. All right, we're going to continue. We have something fun planned after we finish this. So let's finish this quickly. All right, so we're going to step 5.
Oh, you had one question.
We have declared comp10 over here and comp.
So you can't do that. Just say say const temperature and equals So you're saying value of 16 inside this one. And now we can use this inside here somewhere. Yeah. Okay.
Step 5, we're going to use a switch statement. So basically what we want to do is, depending on the wind speed, and where's the wind speed? The wind speed is right here, the slider. We're going to now play with the slider and how to get values from that. So if the slider is used, it'll output a value. We want to capture that change. We want to then output some paragraph that says, gusty day today, or depending on the speed of the wind. So first we need some kind of event listener, right? So let's make that happen. So somewhere here, maybe just above step 5. Actually, no, maybe down here. You need to grab the slider. Did we grab the slider at all yet? Up top? No, I don't think we did. Where is the slider here? In my HTML. It is right here with the ID of wind speed. So in my JavaScript, did I use wind speed at all? No, I didn't, so I need to capture that. So let's say, maybe I'll just, const wind speed equals document query selector hashtag wind speed. And the paragraph, I think it's a new paragraph. Let me just examine the HTML for a second. There it is. So it's a new paragraph tag with an ID of wind comment. So I'm going to grab that too. Const wind comments equals document.query selector wind comment. Okay. So now that I have these 2 lines, I can now do something with them. So similar to the click, similar to the change, and we're going to use the same change name. So we're going to add an event listener to that slider. So let me ask Justin too. So we already have the slider. It's called wind speed. How do I add a change listener to that? And I want it to run the function called get wind speed, which we have yet to define. Was that? Yep. Change, and then I said get wind speed, which is the function which we have yet to write. Good. So let's now write that function, and I'm going to put that function right above here for step 5. I'm going to say function get wind speed. Make sure your capitalizations are correct. I'm then going to move this step 5 comment in my function. Okay, so how do we grab the value? I want to do the same thing as I did with the drop-down menu. I just want to test if I can grab or get the value of the slider that was moved. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to console log for testing purposes. Console log the toggle wind speed dot value, which I think it is, and let's see what happens. So I'm going to now run this and slide it. And so notice every time I slide it and let go, I get a different number in the console. So it is working. However, in my mind, the question you might be asking yourself is, okay, how does it know exactly what numbers to produce? And then the answer would be, well, look in the HTML. It says the minimum and maximum right here. That's how it knows. Okay, so we now have a way to grab that slider value. We can now test for it using our switch statements, which is basically like a fancy if else structure. So instead of console logging that, I want to assign that. Let's say const speed equals value. And now let's go ahead and do this whole fancy thing. So I always forget the syntax for switch, so what I usually do, I just go to the MDN, type in MDN switch, look at the syntax, copy a bunch of stuff, and then change it. So usually for me, personally, I just do this. I copy that, go in here, paste it, and just change what I need to change. So what are we testing for? We're testing for the speed. Okay, so here I could say, test for speed. Or since I'm always going to go in here, I could just say true here. Could I not? I could just say just run case by case. I could do that too. Either one, I guess that would work. And so we need to test for case. Actually, hold on. Yeah, let's say case speed is greater than 90. So if it's a really windy day, then we'll put a comment like the wind comment text content equals, hold on to your hat, something like that. And here, maybe I'll say second case speed is greater than 50, then we'll have the same kind of thing, but we don't need this case with highs, do we? Instead of hold on to your hat, just say, it's a gusty day or something. Okay. Make sure you have the break for each one, for each case. So make sure that break is there for each case. Speed is greater than 20. Strong winds. And then the default will be calm day. You don't need a break for that last one. Default. Let's see if that works. Now, one thing I want to note is that let's say the slider is at 100 and it comes to here. Will this run? Yes. And then it breaks. That means it will not even look at these other conditions. It won't look at this 50, it won't look at the 20, it won't look at the default. Okay. So let's see if that works. Let's refresh our page. Let's play with a slider and see if something is outputted to the screen. A gusty day today. Hold on to your hat. Strong winds, calm day. Okay, great. And the final thing, so here's the code for that if you want to look at the code. The final thing is step 6, ternary operators. Show of hands who've seen ternary operators before. Ternary, yeah, one. Ternary operators, to be honest, when I first learned that back in Seneca for computer programming analysis, I didn't like it. But now, I love it. And in the advanced JavaScript, you might tend to use this a lot. Let me just show you the syntax. So MDN ternary operator. It looks kind of like this. So you're using a question mark here. And basically, you can think of a ternary operator as an if-else structure. So if this is true, if isMember is true, then this is returned as the value. Else, this is returned as the value. Okay. So the example I have here is, what do I have here? Const break message. I'm going to document query select something called break time, which I guess is a new paragraph somewhere. I have no idea. I'll double check right now. So I'm query selecting a ID of break time. Let me just look at my HTML just to see where that is. Oh, there it is. There's a paragraph called break time. Great. And for now, I'm just going to set this this variable called coffee break to false. And then now I'm going to use the ternary operator. Ternary operator. As I'm looking at my notes, I'm not really liking this example, so I'm going to change it on the fly. I'm going to go like this. I'm just going to be simple here. If coffee break will equal something. It'll equal true or false depending, okay? So I need a condition. So you can imagine here is your ternary operator. You don't need the brackets necessarily, but you need some kind of state truthy or falsy thing. So you could say is true here, which we don't even have a variable for that. So let me just define that right now. Let is true equals false. So if it's true, if this is true, then it'll do this first thing here. And the first thing I want it to be to return is true, and then otherwise it'll return false. So let me just explain what's happening here. There's a few things happening here. First of all, it's noticing it's an assignment, so it doesn't even look at the left-hand side, because whenever you see an assignment, it evaluates the right-hand side first. So now it's going to evaluate is true. Look up the value of is true. Is true is false. If it's false, they're going to do this. We're going to return the second one. So in this case, we're going to return the Boolean false, and that Boolean false will go inside coffee break. So if I say break message text content equals coffee break. Oh, just as as soon as I said Control S, it changed my code here, which is I don't want it to change my code right now. I want to disable my ESLint, so I'm just going to go to my JavaScript for a second, say ESLint disable, and that should prevent it from changing my code from here on in. Save, good. So let's see what it outputs on the page. There, false. So if I said true here, it's going to evaluate the right-hand side. It's going to look at this, look at the value of is true. The value of is true. Therefore, I'm going to return the value of whatever's in here. In this case, it's a Boolean. Could be any data type. It could be a string, whatever. So now that coffee break will be assigned to a value of true. And since we're outputting that, it should say true here in the output. There it is. Okay. So that's that. That's all I had to say for this conditionals.html page. Any questions before we move on to the more fun stuff? Loops. Forget this one. Forget that line. I could have just said console log coffee break. That's fine. Okay. Forget the fact that you're playing with a web page. Just all I want you to know is, okay, here's my original example. Here's my original example. Hopefully this might make more sense. Maybe it will. Oh, okay. You get it? Okay. Okay. Return. Yeah. Yeah.
So the word true, it will show in the on the HTML page. So what my question is, like, if we type another thing, it will show exactly that. Like that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, let's try that. Do you want me to change this?
Yeah.
Hi. Like that? Like that? Or do you want me to change this?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try that. Like that? Oh, I had it right? Yeah. Oh, shoot. So I wanted something here, like that?
Yeah.
And do you want this to be true or high? True. Okay. Yeah, you're right. So this string will be returned and assigned to coffee break, and we're going to assign that string on the page. I guess I made it a little bit confusing because I used like a lot of Booleans. Like I could have just said, okay, forget this is true. Just make this like is 2 greater than 1. If true, then output yes. If false, then output no. So the string yes will be assigned to coffee break, which is then outputted. Yes. Is it greater than? If I change it to greater than? No. Oh, hold on. Greater than should have been no. That's weird. Where's my syntax error? This one here? Oh, sorry. Good. Okay, so that's it. Any questions on conditionals? I'm sure you've seen that in other stuff. We're going to move on to loops, which is a little bit more exciting. However, we're not going to use the one that Scott gave us. We're going to use something I did, which is way more exciting, I think. So download lab, oh, hold on, under week 4. This one here. Download this lab 4. Save that, and this is what you're going to hand in for your 1%. Here, there it is. Open up your index file, and you should see this. Remember this game? Yeah, guess who? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to, and I'm going to make you try to do this, and I'm going to show you some of the steps, and I want you to try it for a couple of minutes, and then we'll take it up and try something else for a couple of minutes, take it up. The goal is I want the user to click on a picture. That picture will then fall down. It'll animate by going down, and therefore that's pretty much it. So click away, and it goes down. So the question is, first of all, let me show you how I did the animation. So if I were to inspect any one of these pictures, and right now I see here this picture is this div, and if I manually type in a class called flip, which I have previously defined in my styles, and click enter. So keep your eye on Alex right here as I click enter here. Okay, so it animates that way. If you want to know how to do that, let's just show you. Something you'll learn in your motion graphics animation course. You need this line here called perspective, which sets a distance. And then you need this transform origin, which makes the point of origin at in this case, the center bottom. And then the flip class. So when I manually typed the flip class in there, it rotated it so many degrees, blah, 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 and it faded it away. Okay? Neither here nor there. Okay, so let's open up the index.js file for that, and you're going to see all these comments. So in essence, all I want you to do to practice your loops, first of all, we need to grab all of these pictures, and we're going to do it with something called query selector all. And then we're going to attach event listeners to all of them. So as you can imagine, how terrible would it be in your code if you were just limited to query selector and you had to deal with this? That would be pretty terrible, right? I mean, you'd have to say const one picture equals document query selector this div, and then do the same thing for all 27, 28, 24. That's terrible. So we have query selector all, which saves a lot of time. So let's try that. Let me show you how it works. So I am now going to demonstrate in the console. I want you to then write it in your index.js file and test it to see if it works. Okay? So first of all, we have to figure out how to capture these. So if I inspect the element, let's look for an ID or a class. Oh, look at this. They all have a class of card something. Huh. Now, is there a way in CSS to capture a class that begins with something? Do you remember? And The answer is this one. So let's try CSS selector begins with. Here. So if you have something like this, that's the CSS way of targeting, whatever attribute you're looking for. So we're looking for a class attribute. So class attribute, and then this little mark here means begins with, and then you can put card here. So I'm going to now attempt to do that here, just using the console. Document.query selector all. Then I'm going to now put in that square brackets, which means it's looking for the attribute that I type. So it's going to look for all the class. So right now it has it. And actually, I could stop there, I suppose. But just to keep on going, equals, and it begins, sorry, it's not equals. It's the, what do you call that? Caret? Caret equals quote, card, double quote. There you go. So that would be the proper way to, this would be the CSS way to select all tags that have that begin with card for the class. Okay. So now that you know the command to do that, I want you to do that in your JS file, but store it in a variable. Store it in a constant. Call it cards. Okay, so do that for 1 minute, and then I'm going to ask someone at random. All right, let me pick on someone here. Ivan, what do you think? What did you say here? Yeah, all of that. Yeah. Yep. What variable? Cards, const cards. Yep, good. There you go. Great. So now we're going to try each of these 5 steps. So basically, I'm showing you 5 different ways to loop in JavaScript. We already know the first step, for loop. However, just an FYI, when you reach the advanced JavaScript course, especially if I'm teaching it, you're going to use a lot of this, .map. And this is the good stuff right here. And we'll focus on this at the very end of class if we have time. So let's try this. You already know how to do a for loop. And so let me ask, so here's the goal. I want you to use a regular for loop and attach an event listener of click on all of your cards. Okay, I'm not going to ask anyone in particular. I want you to just try it for 1 minute. Go. So you're going to use add event listener click. How exactly are you going to do that? Check the MDM documentation if you're not sure of the syntax or how to use it. Anyone get it? Let's try. Let's try. Rebecca, what do you think? No? Okay, let's start with a regular for loop, okay? So if you're not familiar with a for loop, mdn it. There's your for loop right there. So let's grab that, put it here. Okay, so I think let's agree that we want I equal to 0. But what's the test condition here, Rebecca? What do you think? We don't want I to be less than 9. I is less than what? What was that? Length? Yeah. Now, let's see if that works. I have my doubts about that. You could be right. I'm confused right now because I noticed that when we grab this, we don't have an array. We have something called a node list. And I don't know if a node list has a length property. Let's see. Dot length. Oh, it does. It gives me 24. So you're right. Okay. So dot length is right. I++ is standard. Great. So what goes in this code here? I want to add an event listener of click to each individual card. How do we do that? Justin, I forget, are you 1 or 2? I don't know. Okay, call him 1, call him A. Okay, A. Smith, I'll call you J. Smith. J. Smith. What do you think? So do you say cards dot add event listener click, not on click, just click, and then basically run something to add the flip, right? Yeah. Let's just call that function, I don't know. We'll call it flip, which is a function we have yet to define. Okay. So let's write that function right now. Function flip, and I want to basically add the class flip to whatever we're talking about. Oh yeah, I can see where the difficulty in this. Okay. 2 things. Actually, before we do that, I'll just say console log flip is running. Let's see if this works. Or what kind of error message we get. Refresh. Aha. Add event listener is not a function on cards. Huh. What's happening here? So realize that cards is a node list. What you were thinking is you wanted to add an event listener to each individual thing, but you don't want to add an event listener for the whole array, it's not the whole node list. Yeah. Yeah, so we need I there. Good. So this is where the interesting part comes in. How do I add a class to the actual element that I'm working with here? There's a couple of different ways, I suppose. But let me try this. Let me try this on you. This is try this. Console log.this. Show of hands who's learned the keyword this in other languages. Yeah. Okay. So let's see what happens. So if I click on this guy, Alex, I get the div of that Alex. If I click on Alfred, I get the div of that Alfred. Right? Notice how it's highlighting each time. If I click on David here, I got it. So what is this? This is going to look to the left of the dot of add event listener. So here's add event listener. The left of the dot is this particular DOM element. So this is attached to that DOM element. It's almost as if I said document.query selector cards at that I position. And I got it, and it's assigned to this. Cool. But now, the real cool part is, because I now have that DOM element represented by this, I can use regular JavaScript saying, add a class to it called flip, right? So that's how to add a class. Classlist.add flip. So let's see if it works. Refresh. Let's click on Alex. Ta-da! Alfred, Franz, Herman, Joe. Okay, they're all going down. Great. Great. Okay, that was step 1. I want you to try step 2. So comment out your step 1 so it no longer works. You can still keep your function. Flip. I want you to try on your own for 1 minute to do the same thing using a do while loop. Use MDM documentation to remind you how to do a do while loop and see if it works. So I'll give you 1 minute for that. Go. Okay, anyone get it? Yeah, Adam, what'd you say?
I did, well, I declared I.
Yep.
Let,
Yep.
and then I did do card I.
Yep.
Dot add member here.
Yep.
And then,
Oops. Why is my thing like
and then,
Sorry. I don't know why my tab doesn't work. Yeah, and then flip, yep.
yeah, and then the while statement I did while I is less than picture.
How are you changing I?
Oh, sorry, I have an increment.
Something like that?
No, I do I plus plus.
Okay. Yeah, either one. Good. So that should work. Let's see. Refresh. Oh, hold on. What's the matter? Oh yeah, I don't want the semicolon there. Let's try that again. Good. Great. So now you know how to do while loops. To be honest, I've never used a do while loop in my life. I don't know why it's there, but it's there for classical historical purposes. Back in the COBOL days, I suppose. Okay, step 3. Now, before we do, I want you to do step 3. I want you to realize the history of this. So, in the past, for all programming languages, they've always had for loops. But if you think about it, you really don't care about the I++. You don't want to maintain that. You don't want to think about the I++. You don't want to. You just want the value. Hence, this has been created for you within the last, basically in I'd say 2014 around there, the for each loop. So I want you to look up the for each documentation of MDN, figure out how it works, take a few minutes, and make it happen. Because the for each, you don't have to maintain or worry about the I at all. It just gives you the value.
Oh yeah, this is a tricky one. It's not gonna work for the first time. Because you're not dealing with an array. What was the trick I showed you last week to translate a node list into an array? So it has, actually hold on, does node list have a for each? I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Let me see. So I said document, what? No. Cards. Does cards have a for each in the prototype? Does it? Oh, never mind. But when we come to map, when I ask you in step 5 to use .map, then you'll realize map is not there. Then you'll have to convert it. So anyways, go ahead for the for each. Carry on, never mind. Oh, I'm just noticing now the documentation for MDN gives you something new called an arrow function, which I have not taught yet, which I will right now. Okay, did anyone get it using their documentation? Yes, Parth, go. Element here. Now keep in mind, this could be any keyword, right? It could be anything you want. It could be element, it could be card, whatever you name it. Since you called it element, I'll stick with your naming. And then what did you say? You said the arrow function here? So you just use their thing, yeah. Like that. Then flip. All right, let's see if that works. Works. I want to say a few words about this for each. What shall I begin with? I want to touch the arrow function. I want to touch upon callback functions. Okay. Next week's lesson, I believe, is functions. Is it? Or is it events? I forget. Oh yeah, next week is functions and then events. Okay. I was hoping to save this for next week, but I'll share it with you now. This style of coding, when it's using what's called the big fat arrow, that is a shortcut for functions. So let me show you an example of that, of the shortcut. So as you know, a function normally traditionally looks like this, for example. And inside here, you can return whatever you want. Okay. So to run this function, right? Just to actually, I'm going to step back. Remember when I said that functions are objects? So if I just say flip right here, that's the left-hand side. That's the left-hand side of the object. That's the name or the container. And then on the right-hand side is the actual code, right? The bracket stuff. So how do I run a function? I have to put the brackets all the time. So now it's returning that. Here's the shorthand way to do the same thing. This is going to be kind of tricky. Let me do it in the context of our array function or our node list. So I have to just make an array just for now. I say my array.for each. Now I can use something like this. So for each card, or in this case element, because we're dealing with integers, I want to actually, no, I'm going to do the same thing
I'm going to write the same flip function here. Oh, hold on. See, I didn't expect that. Okay. I will save the arrow functions for next week. I was anticipating that it would definitely say hello 3 times, but oh, you know why? I know why. Oh, not quite. Let me change it one more time. Give me one more chance here. Yeah. So now it says hello 3 times, only because I console logged it and I didn't return it. Here's the big idea. Whenever you have a function, whatever, and it returns something, the shorthand of that is whatever. Okay, actually, let's pretend the whatever. Oh man, I'm screwing this up, and I don't want to. I'm screwing this up. I feel bad because I'm trying to go ahead, and I don't want to go ahead, and okay, forget what I just said. That was terrible. I don't want to go ahead and screw you guys up for the next lesson. Yeah. Okay, I know. Let me do the reverse. I can do that. Okay, so instead of this big fat arrow function, you could do the traditional function element. There, done. That does the same thing. Let's test it out. Refresh. There we go. Okay? So there's a lot of little things to know about the arrow function, which I'll get into next week. For example, is there a parameter being passed? If so, then write this. If not, then write this. Make sure you write the big arrow function. Make sure if it's returning something, you don't have to say return if it's 1 line, but if it's multiple lines, you do have to say return. So all these little things, and I don't want to get into that now. Just know that for each, you can use the arrow function. But here's the bigger thing that I want to get into is called callback functions. Because every time I teach a course like JavaScript, and you see something weird like this, where a function is inside your argument or parameter, students get confused. They say, how is it possible? The common question is, I don't get what's happening here. Like, why? How is this element being fulfilled or populated on demand, kind of thing? And that's probably your question. And this is called the callback function. And I'm hoping to either get into this next week when you get into functions. But just know this, I will say this. This method called for each, the JavaScript code in that method kind of looks like this, like a for loop. Okay? And it does all the I stuff for you. Something.length, we'll get into that, right? Whatever, I++. Now, this for loop is inside a function called for each. But then this for each is passed an entire function. So this is the right-hand side of a function. So if I copy that, and I'll just represent it with fn, right? So imagine all of this function code is now embedded in here. What's happening is, every time it iterates, you know, let's pretend it's something at I, it'll run your function on that. So here's your function, fn. To run it, you need parentheses, and then you need to put the value of that array, whatever was being passed, right? Most likely it's this. In that. So the big idea is this for each code, inside it, it's actually calling the function that you passed. That's the big idea. And when it does that, it populates the value that that was passed inside element. So that's how element gets populated. And I'm hoping that kind of makes sense. Does that make sense? No. Okay. Next week, hopefully, that'll make sense. Because that's this callback stuff is the biggest one of the biggest obstacles for new JavaScript learners. However, if you learn it, it is one of the most powerful features of JavaScript over other languages. Because other languages, you cannot pass functions. By passing functions, you now have more power than other languages. I'm going to state that JavaScript is more powerful than Java. Here, straight up. Because the way it's built under the hood uses a prototypal architecture, and it can imitate other languages like Java, which is class-based inheritance. It can imitate that, but you can't go the other way around. Java can never imitate the prototypal structure that JavaScript has, and that shows you which has the power. It's controversial, yes. OK. Try step. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention for step before we go to step 4. The advantages of the for loop up in step 1 is this. You could, somewhere in your for loop, you could say break. So if there's a condition like if something was true, go ahead and break. You could say that, and it'll break the for loop. It won't go through the other iterations. You could say that. However, in for each, you cannot say. That's the unfortunate downside. So you get the benefit in the for each loop, you get the benefit of not maintaining the I++ stuff, but you don't have the break. For the regular for loops, you get the benefit of breaking, but you have to maintain the I++. So then, in 2015, they invented something new. Step 4, they invented the for of loop. And it looks like this. You get the best of both worlds here. You can break from this, and you don't have to worry about the I's. And it looks like this. Pretty simple. So let me just write it out. For const card of cards. And then it will just repeat the same command. There. That's how to do it. Let's see if it works. Refresh. Oh, it doesn't work. Why not? Oh, yeah. Element. It doesn't know what element is. So this element has to match what you defined here. Card. There you go. Okay. I would say for modern JavaScript land, for of and .map, as well as .filter and .reduce, those are your big 4 loops that you should use from now on. OK, so that's step 4. I want you to try step 5, map. Now, I said earlier it's not going to work the first time. And the reason it's not going to work the first time is this. So let me show you again. Cards is a node list. Therefore, cards does not have map. Undefined. But arrays have maps. So how do I convert a node list into array? One way is if you had said ... document query selector, all of that stuff, or maybe just ... cards, that same thing. There. This is now an array, as it'll reveal. It doesn't. Oh, there it is, array. And therefore, this will have a map associated with it if you wanted to. So that's one way. So there's basically 2 ways. Let me just review that real fast. So originally I said this in line 2. I could have said this. I could have said square bracket ... That's called the ... is called the spread operator. So it plucks each element in that array-like structure called the node list, and it puts it in my array, which I defined with the square brackets. That is one way to convert a node list into an array. The other way, if I undo, I could say capital A array.from, and then pass the whole thing in. That is also the equivalent way of doing the same thing. I'm going to stick with the spread operator. So I'm going to stick with ... So now that I've given you that, now you can work with the .map. So go ahead, take a few minutes, look at the documentation for .map. Ask yourself, what's the difference between .map and .for each? Laptop sticker for the correct answer. This is of utmost importance. What's the difference? Yes, you get a laptop sticker. Absolutely right. Map creates its own array. It returns an array. I'm going to show you a picture, and in my advanced JavaScript class, I always show this picture of .map, .filter, .reduce. These are the big three that you need to know here, this picture here. So with the .map, it takes in an array, it outputs an array. But notice it contains the same number of elements in the input and the output. So 4 in, 4 out, always, always. The only difference is you're changing something for each element. And then the other two you'll learn some other time. Okay? All right. Now, so let's do step 5 real quick. Did anyone get it? Cards.map. And it looks very similar. I'm going to use the old way. I'm going to use the old way. Function card, not the new way. Function card. And card.add event listener. Click. And we want flip. So it looks very similar to the for each. However, I'm going to show first of all, I'm going to test if it works, and then I'll say the however in a second. Yep, it works. However, here's the difference. In this for each code up here, it doesn't return anything. So if I had said, up here, const some variable equals, that doesn't return anything. It'll be undefined, because for each doesn't return anything. However, for the map, if I said const some variable equals that, this always returns an array that has the same amount of elements in it. Now, in this case, I'm just going to make it really obvious and say return high. So let's console log that high, or console log that some var, and see what happens. The input was 24 things. The output was 24 things. Except I could change that thing. So I'm now going to, OK, first of all, that's the end of the lab. You submit that, host it on now, get your 1%. For the last 10 minutes, I don't expect you, I'm going to now demonstrate something that I teach in the advanced JavaScript section. I don't anticipate that you'll understand everything, but I want you to get the .map. And I want you to get why we use template literals and not the old style strings. So where's Jay Smith? Today's my redemption for of why we use template literal strings and not the old style concatenation, OK? OK.